I'm going to tell you a story. I don't tell it to anybody. This is the first wave. The Germans had 14 machine guns. When I dropped the ramp, all those machine guns opened up. And the front of my boat, 7, 8, 10, 15 kids, I don't know, they just went down like you're cutting wheat. The machine gun took his helmet off and part of his skull. And he was crying, "Help me, help me, help me." And he fell at my feet. And I couldn't help him. We were too young to drink. We were too young to vote. But we weren't too young to die.
D-Day, the day the world held its breath. The day that men put down their lives for their brothers. The day that determined the fate of the world. In this relentless storm of chaos, courage emerged as a beacon, and the tides of history turned in a way no one could have foreseen. D-Day, a pivotal moment that not only reshaped the world, but defined the resilience of the human spirit against the darkest odds in the darkest moments. But before we dive into D-Day's intricate story, it is vital to recognize the echoes of World War I, which reached deep into this conflict. The unresolved issues with the unfair reparations against Germany and the Treaty of Versailles from the Great War laid the foundation for the rise of Hitler in World War II. During the mid to late 1930s, Britain followed a policy of appeasement, allowing Nazi Germany to amass great forces. With a large national support due to its intense propaganda campaign, the once devastated nation rose to become incredibly powerful. What started as a land grab of nearby nations eventually led to the invasion of Poland. Britain had refrained from action for too long, and now it was too late. With their Italian allies, Nazi Germany was able to overwhelm French defenses through blitzkrieg tactics, and by May 1940, France was under German occupation. Fast forward to 1943 through 1944. Hundreds of thousands of people have died, and the United States has just entered the war, strengthening the Allied forces. The leaders of the United States and Great Britain got together to formulate a plan to regain a foothold on the Western Front in France, and to possibly turn the tide of the war. This plan is known as Operation Overlord, and it involves meticulous planning, extensive intelligence operations, and the massive mobilization of troops and supplies. The plan was to create a diversion and make Hitler think that the main invasion would be at Calais, and that there'd be multiple other invasions at different spots all along the French coast. This forced Germany to put its main defense at Calais, and stretch its forces thin along the coast to defend against a supposed widespread assault. June 6, 1944. The weather was supposed to be clear, but the rain pours and the massive waves crash and rock the boats. In the boats are men, packed together like sardines, anxiously waiting for the order to advance on Normandy. The largest amphibious assault in history is about to begin.
We had the 1st Division and the 29th Division under us that landed on Omaha Beach on D-Day. That's pretty much how I got in on the invasion. On D-Day, when the ramp went down and they got into the water and out, I was the last one in line. Now, I'll tell you that they had over 1 million mines, 1 million. And There were other lines going in at the same time that we were going in. And once in a while, the spurt of water would shoot up in the air. Somebody stepped on a mine. I was more afraid of stepping on a mine than I was at the gunfire coming at us. When we got up out of the water, drawn machine gun fire shot 1,200 rounds a minute, twice as fast as any of ours. But by some miracle, those machine guns stopped to reload or to change barrels or something. I got up and ran, and while I was running, they got started again, and they were firing at me, and I said, God, what is happening? I'm getting fired at. I can't see anybody to shoot back at. I made it to the cliff without a scratch. There is a God. There is a God.
After the Allied forces reached the cliffs of Normandy, their struggle had just begun. The Germans were so heavily fortified, and fighting up the cliffs and uprooting the German defenses was difficult and costly. But through perseverance and courage, Operation Overlord was a resounding success, and the Allies were able to liberate Normandy, turning the tide of the war. The loss of life that occurred while storming the beaches was indeed horrific, but the lives of those young men were not taken in vain, and through their sacrifice, more than triple the number of lives were saved. If it were not for D-Day and its success, the Allies wouldn't have been able to free France and the rest of Europe from the grip of the Nazis. Concentration camps all throughout France and Europe were liberated, and innocent civilians set free. If it were not for the sacrifice of those men on the beach, thousands more defenseless women, children, and men would have been slaughtered. While this event was profound, many other battles such as Operation Cobra and Operation Dragoon ensued before France was fully set free. But with all these Allied successes, Germany panicked and tried a last-ditch effort to stop the advancing Allies dead in their tracks. December 16th, 1944, Germany led a surprise attack on the oncoming Allied troops. This counteroffensive resulted in the Battle of the Bulge, which left tens of thousands dead on both sides, and was the highest casualty battle to take place in this war. Ultimately, however, the Germans failed, and the Allied forces continued pushing into Europe, eventually winning World War II. At the close of the war, the Yalta Conference set forth the guidelines to restructure Europe into a place that could once again thrive in peace. To ensure that Germany's horrific war crimes would never happen again, international law was created at Nuremberg, and a global campaign echoed the slogan, "Never Again," as a reminder that all life is sacred. The veterans of D-Day are remembered through monuments, museums, and the retelling of stories by those who were there. It stands as a testament to the unshakable human spirit, a reminder that even in the darkest hours, unity, sacrifice, and courage can prevail. D-Day was not just a day, it was a spark that allowed for the ending of World War II. It's a testament to the courage and determination of those who stood against tyranny and stood up for what is right. As the historian Stephen Ambrose said, the American citizen soldiers knew the difference between right and wrong, and they didn't want to live in a world in which wrong prevailed. So they fought and won, and all of us living and yet to be born must be profoundly grateful.